Some people are never really alone. They're surrounded by friends, family, co-workers, conversations. They reply to messages. They show up to gatherings. They laugh at the right moments. And yet, when everything goes quiet, they feel empty. Not because no one is around, but because no one truly sees them. Psychology calls this emotional loneliness. It's one of the most misunderstood emotional states, because from the outside, it doesn't look like loneliness at all. In fact, people who experience this kind of loneliness are often the most socially capable. They know how to blend in, they know how to listen, they know how to make others comfortable. But deep down, they feel disconnected, like they're always standing slightly outside the circle, even when they're right in the middle of it. This kind of loneliness doesn't come from isolation. It comes from emotional mismatch. Their inner world is deeper than the conversations around them. They think more. They feel more. They notice things others overlook. And over time, they begin to realize something painful. What I feel doesn't fit here, so they adapt. They talk less about themselves. They ask more questions. They become the listener, the observer, the one who understands everyone else. Psychology shows that this pattern often begins early in life. Many people who feel lonely around others grew up in environments where their emotions were acknowledged, but not fully understood. They weren't ignored. They weren't abandoned. But they weren't deeply met either. So they learned an important survival lesson. It's safer to handle my feelings alone. This is where emotional independence begins, and slowly turns into emotional isolation. As they grow older, this pattern strengthens. They stop expecting others to understand them. They stop explaining themselves. They stop sharing the deeper layers of who they are. Not because they don't want connection, but because connection has disappointed them before. Psychology shows that the brain remembers emotional rejection more strongly than physical pain. So once someone feels unseen enough times, their nervous system becomes cautious. They don't open up quickly. They don't trust easily. They test people, not on purpose, but subconsciously. They share something small and watch carefully. Do you listen? Do you dismiss it? Do you change the subject? Most people do. So they retreat again. And over time, they become experts at being fine. They smile, they joke, they say they're okay. But inside, they feel like a stranger in their own life. Another psychological reason this happens is high emotional awareness. People who feel lonely around others often sense emotional undercurrents that others don't. They notice tension. They notice shifts in tone. They notice when something is said but not meant. This makes shallow interactions exhausting. Small talk drains them. Surface-level conversations feel empty. And pretending to be someone they're not costs energy they don't have. So even when they're surrounded by people, they feel disconnected, because connection, for them, means depth, and depth is rare. Psychology also shows that these individuals often fear being a burden. They don't want to be too much. They don't want to overwhelm anyone. They don't want to explain themselves again. So they minimize their feelings. They tell themselves, it's not that serious. Others have it worse. I'll deal with it later. But emotions don't disappear when they're ignored. They wait, and loneliness grows quietly. One of the most painful parts of this experience is that these people are usually the ones others rely on. They give advice, they provide comfort, they understand pain, but when they need that same understanding, they rarely ask for it. Not because they don't need it, but because they don't believe it will come. Psychology calls this self-silencing, when a person hides their inner world to preserve relationships. And ironically, this is what deepens the loneliness, because being liked for a version of yourself that isn't fully real feels just as lonely as being alone. Over time, this loneliness can turn into emotional numbness. They stop expecting closeness. They stop craving connection. They convince themselves they're better off alone. But this isn't strength. It's protection. Protection from disappointment, protection from misunderstanding, protection from hoping. The truth is, people who feel lonely around others don't lack social skills. They lack emotional safety. They don't need more people. They need one place where they don't have to edit themselves. One conversation where they don't feel rushed. One person who listens without fixing. One moment where they feel fully received. And here's the part psychology makes very clear. There is nothing wrong with these people. They aren't broken. They aren't antisocial. They aren't cold. They are emotionally deep in a world that often rewards surface connection. Their loneliness is not a flaw. It's a sign that their inner world is waiting to be understood. And if this felt familiar, if you recognized yourself in these words, it doesn't mean you're alone forever. It simply means you haven't been met yet. And when the right connection comes, the kind that feels quiet, safe, and real, the loneliness fades without effort. Because for the first time, you won't feel like you have to disappear to belong.